Hello, everybody, and welcome to Profiling Evil Choir Practice. I am so excited to be back. Skylar, how you doing tonight?
Good, good. How are you? Back and rested and not jet lagged anymore?
Oh no, I'm awake from about 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and then I take a little nap time in the afternoon while I try to get my mind back in sync. Spending 3 weeks in Europe kind of got me on that time zone, and now I'm working my way back. But I am so glad to be back, and people have been so kind with emails and everything else. And I see our mods are running things in the back here. I want to thank them and
Yeah.
all of you for all the kind comments over the time we've been here or been away, and your flexibility as we've tried to be flexible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been a long few weeks since we went live. We tried it once while you were gone, and it made for a rough couple days after for you. So we decided to not make you wake up at 2 in the morning to do a choir practice.
Yeah, no, it was great, and I'm excited to jump right in and start talking about some of these cases. And folks, please just throw your questions out. We've kind of changed the format around a little bit, and in the past, I've just yammered on way too much. So we want to get right to your questions and visit about those things. I did love one great comment I saw, Skylar. Nanny Mo put up that she's almost through with she knew no fear, and that's so nice of her to put up those nice comments. And folks, since we're talking that, you can get She Knew No Fear and also Deceived. So make sure you're there we go. Make sure you're signing up for those and getting them. The proceeds from Deceived go to build a new children's justice center, and we're really excited and proud that we can participate in helping that way. But yeah, it's great to be back,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you that I really enjoyed looking into that serial killer case in Latvia, and I hope folks went and watched that. And I might get someone complaining because I said I really enjoyed looking into the case, but exploring that case and meeting with family members from Profiling Evil in Latvia. And frankly, I got to meet people in Poland that watch Profiling Evil, in the Czech Republic, and in Germany. So it was a lot of fun while we were kicking around.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's do we have that video or that linked anywhere in this down below? We probably ought to.
The link, oh
Tyler.
yeah, go to profilingevil.com, folks. You can get it there or get the books on Amazon. Oh, you mean the link for
The
Kaspars Petrovs is the name of this serial killer. 38 elderly women this guy murdered, and he did that over about a 2-year period of time, which tells me that he's got many more victims that weren't added to the list.
right.
Hey,
Hey, dude,
Ron,
you're
thanks
on.
so much, and thanks for that on the 100,000 mark. We're getting close. We're behind you, but yeah, appreciate Ron and all he does.
Yeah, we're excited for that 100,000 mark. Like we've mentioned in the past, we have something. Oh, messed my hair up. Sorry. We have something special planned for when we hit 100,000. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Um. So yeah. So what are we doing tonight, Mike?
So you know what? There's been so much attention on the cases that we have kind of explored, as many others have. The Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie case, and we'll answer any questions that folks have on that. I hope you got my crime report from Friday night, where I explored some of those things. Daybell continues to just cause us to scratch our head. And Barry Morphew saying they're going to sue the cops. I mean, give me a break. Guys are doing their job. But all of that is really interesting. The arrest of Larry Miliete, that was great news, and it'll be good to see what happens there as more information unfolds. And we're going to talk tonight a little bit about Brian McKenzie too. And if you remember that, that was a young man who 2 years ago in September disappeared, and his mom has searched day in and day out for him. And Francis is going to come on the show a little toward the end. So
Yeah. That'll be good. It'll be good to talk to her. It's been a little while since we've had a chance to talk. Well, with all of you, we've had some chances to talk to her, right? At least you
Yeah.
have. So
Yeah, we've been
that'll
talking
be good.
pretty regularly. Yeah. So
Yeah. It'll be good for everyone to see her and everything. Well, tonight, everybody, as you know, mentioned in the title, I guess, or in the what do you call it, the thumbnail for this video, we're doing another Ask Mike Anything. So he's been gone for 3 weeks. We've had a lot of stuff happen. We've had the autopsy report of Gabby Petito come out in that time frame. We've had Brian Laundrie's remains found. We've had uh, a lawsuit in the Morphew case happen, right? Lots of crazy stuff. So
the prosecutor in the Morphew case took another job in Pueblo County, so that left Linda Stanley kind of scrambling to get somebody new to lead that. Again, I didn't think it was. I thought it was much ado about nothing to be up in arms about it. They certainly have a number of prosecutors working that case, and somebody will step in and fill that role. And frankly, a fresh set of eyes in that case may not be a bad thing for that case.
yeah. So everybody, please, I'll try to catch as many questions as I can. We've got Tim and Tyler as always in the back helping out, and they'll catch as many questions as they can. But we will not that they are required whatsoever to get your questions answered, but we will prioritize super chats and the all those kinds of things. But you don't have to do that to get your questions answered. And so we're going to try to get through. If the questions start to get very rapid and we get lots of them, please understand short answers so we can get to everybody. We hate leaving people out. But let's keep going. They can be anything, right, Mike? They can be anything in regards to cases that we're talking about. I just saw a question of what's your favorite country, and then Miss Maui Swift has a question on Mike. Can you comment on the BM DNA situation?
Hey, Maui, thanks so much for that. That really appreciate that. And if I'm understanding the question right, the question is surrounding the partial DNA profile that was recovered on Suzanne's glove box in her car, and the fact that that partial, and again, that's the key word here, in my opinion, is partial. That partial DNA has characteristics of a sex offender that they're indicating in Arizona. This to me is going to be really intriguing because, again, it sounds like just a whole lot of noise being created over this thing. The big complaint that the defense had was that they felt like the prosecution didn't provide in discovery the release of information. They didn't provide enough information about that print and what they're doing in that case. To me, the prosecution simply has to say it could have been a number of things. Number one, I'd want to know if Suzanne parked her car and left it unlocked ever. If she did when she was downtown shopping, anybody could have opened that door and quickly gone inside, and a glove box would be the first place they'd go looking for valuables to steal or something like that. So there was a question about the fact that snow tires had been placed or taken off of the vehicle getting ready for summertime, and it could have been somebody working in a tire store. So have they identified where that tire store is and if anyone in there, and then exclude those people? So the DNA is problematic because it becomes noise, but is it that big of a problem? I don't know that I personally think it is, but Maui, I want to know what you think.
So Thirsa Quills. Sorry if I said that wrong. I'm pretty sure I did. Can you please explain a bit on what's happening with the Aiden Fucci case?
Yeah, wasn't that crazy when Aiden got in for that hearing and he started looking up? I mean, it was one of the, and I hope I'm not being too judgmental here. It was one of the worst acting classes I've ever watched. He was looking up and commenting that evil spirits were in the room and everything else. The judge did what the judge had to do in that case, and that was that he had to say, okay, now we're going to do a mental health evaluation to make sure he's competent to stand. A great ploy, I guess, bought him a little time, but I think we'll see him come back after the evaluations and say he's competent to stand trial.
Interesting. Well, Joe Me would like to know if you think Linda, the DA, is going to get justice for Suzanne.
Joe, me, I have great confidence in Linda Stanley. I think number one, imagine how much courage that took for them to file a circumstantial evidence case. But a circumstantial evidence case just means they're going to be piling all of the other forms of evidence into there. So physical evidence, forensic evidence, eyewitness evidence, and there will be eyewitness accounts. They may not be eyewitness accounts that saw the murder, but they're still eyewitness testimony. There's admissions and not confessions that we're aware of, but certainly admissions and omissions in comments that were made, omissions in behavior, and behavior becomes the really important piece that will become part of that. So while there's not a body at this point, and maybe we'll find one by the time that this goes to trial, there certainly is enough evidence that I think they could win this. Now, that's only going on what they presented in court, and again, it's convincing a jury that happened. So
this is a good one. I didn't actually pop this up, but this is I take full credit for bringing this person to watch this stream. I am a nerd at heart and have a channel where we do Pokemon stuff with a friend of mine. And so we brought we introduced Profiling Evil to our community last week. And so he says, I'm new to the PE family. Could you explain your brief background or how you got into true crime? And I'm much more collected and calm in this environment, by the way. So he might not be used to this, but go ahead, Mike. How are you into true crime?
So you know what? So ZA Pokemon, I have been. Did I say it wrong already?
It's just weird to hear you say Pokemon. It's fun.
Yeah. It's been a growing experience. I bought a lot of Pokemon cards over the years as you were all children. But so my background, ZA, is I did a 28-year law enforcement career. I worked my way through the ranks, started as a patrol officer. I rode police motorcycles for a number of years. I worked detectives. I was a member of the SWAT team for a number of years, and I worked my way through the ranks, promoted through, and eventually became chief of the Attorney General's office, and had a marvelous career. But along the way, I was introduced to the FBI profiling unit and was trained as a profiler. And I don't really talk about that much, but had the privilege of profiling cases all around the world. And that's been a great, rewarding career. When it ended, I went to work for an international company, and I lead the emergency communication effort for a global company. So that's what I was doing in Europe. I was meeting with public safety professionals from all throughout Europe and for about 40 different countries. It was a busy 3 weeks. But we were talking about strategy, how to build real-time crime centers, how to use intelligence in the profiling process of basic criminal behaviors, and then I just investigated criminal cases my entire career. So that ZA is kind of how I ended up thinking true crime was worth yapping about a little bit.
All right. We'll skip me for now. If it comes up as it slows down later, we can do that. Mike, we're falling a little bit behind, so let's jump through some of these quickly. Starseed, thank you so much. Mike, who killed John Benet Ramsey?
Yeah, you know what? Interestingly, I was sitting in the offices of the Secret Service when the handwriting analysis and other analytic evidence came in the John Benet Ramsey case. And I learned some things at that time that I still do not feel like I am the one who should share it. And I have very strong feelings about who killed John Benet, and I will leave it at that. But it was a privilege to be able to see the evidence firsthand and to be able to formulate some opinions on the John Benet case. Thanks.
So, oh, we missed one. Hold on. Let's go back, guys. Let's see. I think it was this one. We'll get to that one next. What do you think about Betsy Leak, thank you so much. What do you think about all the info the DA gave during the news
Maya
conference?
Miliete.
Miliete. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Didn't your heart break for Mary Chris?
We've had Mary Chris and Richard on the show before. I talk to them on a regular basis, text with them more regularly. I am so proud of them. They literally drove thousands of miles every single weekend putting on searches, and they will continue to do that. The interesting thing all along was, why wasn't Larry participating in any of the searches? I thought it was expected and tough for them to hear that Maya had a relationship outside of the marriage, that it was clear that there wasn't a good relationship in the marriage, that she was trying to find a way out. And I thought the prosecution did a great job of outlining what was in the arrest affidavit, enough that it made us all recognize that there was a whole lot to this. I think it's going to be really interesting. They're searching so hard for 140 caliber handgun. And it makes me wonder if they've recovered something like a shell casing or something from a 40 caliber. And ballistically, they haven't been able to compare that to any of the weapons that they took. So I think there are going to be some really powerful aha moments when this goes to trial. It'll be interesting.
Interesting. Well, Michelle Leonardo, thank you so much again, as always, for being here as well. How can Barry Morphew sue all the prosecution team, etc.? His team says they never received the info on multiple DNAs in Suzanne's car. We all knew about it.
Yeah, Michelle, I think that the argument that the defense has, if I'm reading the paperwork right, is that their argument is that it was the timeliness of the release of the information. They did get that information from the prosecution, but they think they should have got it sooner so that they could have prepared an adequate defense in that hearing. It was there that they were hoping that they could present something that would sway the judge to dismiss the charges. So I think that's the real issue. And then, of course, if they feel like their client was targeted and that police ignored evidence and just went after him because they have a vendetta, then maybe they have a reason to pursue a lawsuit. But I don't believe for a moment law enforcement wasn't chasing down the leads that they had, and those kept going back and pointing to the person that they charged. So it now falls on the court to decide if there's enough evidence. And this is really important. People say when they are not convicted, well, they didn't do it. That's not true. There wasn't enough evidence to get across the claim.
So Tanya Hausman, thank you for the kind super chat. How do you and other law enforcement use data and data visualizations to help in solving crimes?
Holy cow. So I could go on for hours about this, Tanya, but the bottom line is data is incredibly important. I mean, the data from cell phones, for instance, the geographic location where each ping occurs on the map tells us something about the movement of the person that's targeted in that particular data search. Which tower a cell phone pings off of is really important. How that data in the Morphew case, for instance, how it moved around. And if any of you missed my video where I talked about the drift that happens on a cell phone, please do. In fact, I got into a little bit of an argument with Nancy Grace on her show where I just flat said there's a lot of drift in the Morphew home. We've heard it from day one that there was problems, but data becomes so important, and then visualizing the data is what makes the real difference. You can have tabular data up the gazoo and it's meaningless, but if all of a sudden you can see breadcrumbs on a map, it becomes real and it becomes valuable. So yeah, we could go on for a long time on that.
For sure. Oh, this is a very interesting one. CM would like to know your thoughts on the Alec Baldwin accidental shooting. What types, if at all, charges can and would be filed in a tragic accident like this?
Yeah, well, number one, I think they were in Mexico when it happened, weren't they, or were they just flying out of Albuquerque or
I don't
driving in New
remember.
Mexico? I haven't looked at that. I watched a lot of it on the plane flying home, but bottom line is, what a horrid accident. It's going to be interesting to watch if the allegations are true that uh, that union people were replaced with non-union, and that may have introduced some breakdowns in checklists for safety.
Liabilities. Yeah.
I immediately thought, and I think every police officer out there thought, one thing that's drilled into your head when you go as even a young man, and you remember this, Skylar, going through hunter safety, any weapon that you are handed is loaded.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to clear that weapon and make sure. Now they're in the middle of shooting, and you would think that when someone hands you, especially someone who was the armorer, hands you a weapon and says this is clear, you can do that. You wonder why, if they're going to be shooting a weapon at a camera, why you needed to stand behind the camera. I mean, to me, that kind of makes me think, I think I would be looking at a monitor off to the side. But again, they
Right.
thought that. So this is going to be really interesting to unfold. And that poor Alec Baldwin, I mean,
Yeah.
that guy's had enough challenges. Now imagine packing that around. And I think it will absolutely change the industry in the way they do things. But can someone be
Yeah.
charged? Yeah, I think absolutely somebody could be charged for negligent homicide in that case as we learn more information on it.
But probably not Alec, right? It seems
Oh,
like
no, no, no. Yeah.
he's the one that was, he followed his protocol. Somebody else didn't follow their protocol.
Yeah, yeah, he's a victim. But let me tell you, folks, if you get a weapon, the first thing you do is you clear it.
Yeah.
Uh, and yet maybe he's not a weapon handler. Maybe he doesn't do
Right.
that by trade other than television gunfighting, you know?
Right. Well, and you think in a movie set they use a lot of blanks and fake rounds. And so clearing it probably wasn't an option for him
Yeah, I
because he
don't
had to fire something. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Sorry.
know.
Emmy Nikolov would like to know your thoughts on Brian Laundrie. Let's just do like a quick, 90-second recap so we can. He'll go for an hour, and we got lots of questions.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what we learn from Brian Laundrie's notebook. That's where we're going to really find out if this guy suffered any remorse if he writes something about what happened. I'm still extremely troubled and angry that he would drive 35 hours across country, never make a phone call, never talk to anyone, refuse to talk to police, go off and not do it. Even if his heart broke after he did that and thought, what have I done? It's like, what did you do after you? What did I do? I don't know. I have some real frustration there. I don't agree with those who might say, I hope he committed suicide or something like that. Uh, I would never wish that on anybody. They need to go through the process. They need to have due process, and they need the opportunity to learn as much as they can from it. And all that's been taken
Right.
away. Uh, we don't know if he committed suicide or if he died by predation. And again, there are lots of reasons he could have died out there in the woods. So that notebook's going to be really valuable.
Right. And we did talk about earlier that people in crimes or cases like this tend to commit suicide. I don't think it's not a thing we hope they commit suicide. It's just over the years of what Mike has seen, when somebody probably does a crime like this out of aggression, passion, not a well thought out thing, it kind of eats at them after a while.
Yeah, you wonder, did the parents try to get him into mental health counseling or other things? That the parents are going to have a lot of
Yeah.
explaining to do as this thing unfolds, and they may have already done all that explaining, and the rest of us are just on the outside looking in, trying to figure out what's happened there.
Right. So Garden Girl Nancy, Mike, can and should Brian's parents be held liable for not turning Brian in? And then once you're done with this, I have a question, general question the back office has been seeing.
Yeah, if you go back and look at a couple of my videos, I actually talked about the things that they could be charged with. They certainly could be charged with tampering with evidence. They could be charged with obstructing justice. So there are some things, including if the feds decided to charge some things where they are after the fact charged with things associated with the homicide. So it's going to be really interesting and boiled down to what overt things did they do? Because certainly asking for an attorney is not a crime.
Yeah.
They in getting an attorney probably did the wise thing, but get the attorney to protect yourself. But holy cow, let's find Gabby and not have that have to happen the way it did.
Right. Got our Dr. Pepper.
Hey,
Thank you, Dr. Pepper.
yeah, did you all see
Oh,
that oh yeah, we want to thank Dr.
thank
Pepper.
you.
They send over some supplies. I had to go to a little place in Berlin to finally find a Dr. Pepper, and I don't mind Diet Coke, but European Diet Coke doesn't taste as good as American Diet Coke, and nothing tastes as good as Diet Dr. Pepper.
Well, a kind of general question from several people right now is the conspiracy out there that they didn't really find Brian Laundrie. Have you
Yeah.
seen that? And what are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? There are always going to be people that don't believe anything that comes out of the mouth of government. But again, that would be pretty irresponsible of government to say we have recovered human remains. We've done an autopsy. We've compared those remains against dental records. We affirm this is Brian Laundrie, and in the background be snickering saying we're pulling one over on the people. I just don't believe it. I don't
Yeah.
believe it.
Let's see. Garden Girl Nancy again. Thank you so much. If police don't prosecute the parents, can the Petitos sue them? That's an
Well,
interesting
so
one.
so that's a really cool thing, and there's another case that we brought out on profiling evil where I know, and there's been so many, I'm feeling comfortable saying this. The family is preparing to do a civil case because a criminal case couldn't be brought. Absolutely, you can sue civilly for anything, and I would suspect that they are seriously considering those kinds of avenues. Probably have had a bucket load of lawyers who have reached out trying to get that case too.
So we have a split household, not household, many households of family when it comes to Sasquatch. And there are rumors that potentially Sasquatch was involved with Brian Laundrie, is what some people are saying. So, I think you need to entertain that one too.
So we actually, one of the profiling evil family members is, and I'm not going to say which one, but the Finding Bigfoot team. One of those folks watches profiling evil, and we've had some emails back and forth. I've
Yep.
invited that individual, since there are 3 men and 1 girl. I've invited that individual to come on and talk about Sasquatch, because the question I have is seeing believing, or is believing seeing? And we'll leave that up to all of you. You can weigh in on that. That'll be a fun one to watch, see what happens.
Uh, so Karen Rainey. Oh, hold on. Sorry, it updated on me. Karen Rainey said that she saw that the DNA didn't match. Also, is that true? I'm assuming with the remains that were found. I haven't heard
I
that.
don't know which DNA you're talking about. The only release of forensic information that I've seen thus far is the clear release that the dental records were a match, and that's huge that the dental records match. I mean, if
Before
that's
the
inside
oh,
of a skull or inside of a jawbone, and it's absolute that it's from his dental records, the comparison, that's more than a clue, folks.
before we get to that super chat, Tim, sorry. Michelle Clifford, Mike, you shaved your mustache.
Oh, somebody commented that the Friday night review I did, that was from flying. I,
Oh,
I said I probably should have shaved after they sent me an email.
Gotcha.
Folks, I don't think I could grow a mustache. Every cop wants a mustache at some point in their career, and I could never grow one. I have too much of a baby face.
So Sherilyn Schofner, I've seen clickbait saying that the DNA of the found skull or whatever it was did not match Brian Laundrie. What do you know? Is it too soon to know?
Well, I'll tell you what. Number one, I don't know about you, Sherilyn, but I was shocked that they got an ID on Brian as quickly as they did. Although, again, having a dental record and knowing who it is, it was easy for them to get those forensics going and make that comparison. I think DNA, I think information from the anthropologists, from the graphologists, everything else is going to take some time.
Do you know anything about the Candy Green Gonzalez case?
Man, I don't, Carrie,
Okay,
but
Carrie King.
maybe this is one where the back office could pop up the evidence room and we could talk about that. And folks, those of you who have submitted to the evidence room, submitting something on the evidence room and saying, "Hey, you ought to look into this case," is probably not going to go anywhere. If you
Yeah.
really want a case looked at, you got to do a little research yourself and help us out a little bit. So if the back office is ready at some point, I'd like to pull up that.
It's down below as well.
Oh,
It's in
okay.
the description below. You can find the evidence room. It's just profilingevil.com/evidence room. It's very self-explanatory. It's just a page that you just fill out. It's got all the fields you can fill out, tells you what we need. But yeah, and anything we can do to get as much information as possible will be great.
I saw a comment up there, someone talking about the story about whether they found Gabby's water bottle or not today in the swamp. And I don't know, and I haven't wanted to really comment on that because the fact that it looks like one of her water bottles doesn't make it her water bottle. It'll be interesting to see what information unfolds there. There was also a comment in that same thread that said, "and the smell of decomposed flesh in the area." And anybody that's wandered in a swamp, as the waters recede, they all stink. And so it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not discounting that in any way, but I'm just not ready to step out on a limb and say, yeah, there's something to that.
Hold on, sorry, I had this one real quick. Lake Superior Girl, sorry, Tim, that's my fault. Tim's in the back office helping us keep things alive, and I keep bugging him by touching stuff. Do you believe Summer Wells will be solved? This might be a good opportunity to kind of get an update on that.
I do think Summer Wells' case will be solved, and I don't know exactly why I think that. I'm still not convinced it's an abduction. I'm not convinced that she wandered off. I'm not convinced that she was murdered in some accident and then disposed of. Those are all really good options and opportunities, but I think this one's going to be solved, and I have to just kind of trust that law enforcement's following leads. I love the fact that the sheriff continues to say nobody is off the table yet, but I'm not ready to point at any individual either.
So the one that I took off, and I'm sorry, whoever you were, I'm trying to find it, and if Tim has it, great. But if we can comment on the Josh Duggar case.
I don't know a thing about it. I'm sorry.
Evidence room.
Yeah,
Down below
please.
in the link. Please put some information in the evidence room. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just trying to find some questions that I've passed over. Well, let's while we get some more questions coming in, do you have anything you want to talk about with the B.O.L.O or anything? Oh, let's do this. Does Chris and Roberta get reward money for finding Brian's remains?
That's interesting. I don't know that there was reward money for finding him up. That there very well could have been. I would certainly hope if there was, that they wouldn't be the ones to do that. Boy, I don't know. Enough weird things have happened in that case that who knows.
uh, Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I wondered how people felt about the Wells popping up their own YouTube channel. What the motivation there is? Is it to control the messaging? Is it because we've heard Don complaining that YouTube channels make money and it's a ploy to get money to help them in search efforts or just to supplant the family budget? What do you think about that? And then if you've watched those videos that have popped up, they've been pretty unimpactful, but
Do you making music? It went right over my head. Will you be coming to Boise for the dumbbells trial?
well, I have family in Boise, so it might be worth a trip or two. I'm waiting actually to hear too from Court TV on some things in regard to that. But that Daybell case is actually really intriguing to us on a number of levels. Number one, it's the state next door to us. It involved a state that we live in. Chad has ties back to a missing person case that I investigated 25 years ago. There are lots of little weird angles to this case that are interesting, but most importantly, and it gets a little bit of a shameless plug, but it involves so much cult behavior that we talk about in my book, Deceived, that I'm plugging that. And by the way, I want to re-announce, if you buy Deceived, the proceeds are going to build a children's justice center. They're not going to Profiling Evil. But in there, we talk about cult behaviors and the personality types that lead cults, how they control the members, how they conduct business. And as you look at the Daybell case, I think this is something I'll end up probably commenting a lot during the trial on many of the cult characteristics there. So who knows, Megan, we may see you there.
So Pat K, thank you for the super chat. Mike, this is a good question. What unsolved case bothers you the most right now?
Oh boy, there are so many, and I said it before, but when you think about the fact that there are 104 to 110,000 missing person cases every year where the person doesn't come home. It doesn't count the 800,000 that are reported, but that group, there are so many to choose from. I get really kind of caught up in the cases that we don't talk about. I'm still really angry and troubled by Angela Green, and I know that one's solvable, and it just doesn't seem to happen. And then the B.O.L.O case in Florida is one that just kind of continually chews at me. So Pat, I hope that helps, but yeah, there are so many to choose from.
Chad has ties to a missing person. Sorry, I've been laying back until that. I'm not sure on this one.
Yeah, so I don't think that he was actually the sexton of the in a community where a young woman named Kipling Davis disappeared, and many people have said there's absolutely no tie. But I remember as soon as Chad came to light, Kipling Davis came into my mind in that case, and her father recently was on TV as with some of the laws in Utah changed that required anyone that was convicted in a no body case, like we were seeing with Maya Miliete or Suzanne Morphew, that in Utah now, those individuals who are convicted of a case where the body was never recovered are now held without parole unless they help recover the body. So I thought it was such a powerful thing. And that case actually tied and had ties back to Chad. And that's why I yammer about that. So
interesting. So Candalee would like to know where you were in Germany. Grew up there, 50 years later, still thinks about it.
Candalee, we were in a number of places, but we started, we made our way from Prague up through Dresden and then over to Leipzig, and worked our way up through the forested area up into Berlin. So yeah, on that trip, that was kind of the way we went.
Callie Nelly might come to the Pie
I'll be there
Pizzeria
tonight.
on a weekend evening for a Cinnapar and a micro brewed root beer on me.
Oh my
I
goodness, we'll take the
I
whole Profiling Evil team.
yeah, that's not a single invitation. That's a group invitation.
Callie Neal, I
So
hope you'll do a low carb, because after all the bratwurst and everything I shoved in my gullet the last 3 weeks, I'm now doing low carb for a few weeks.
you tell us the day and we'll make him eat carbs.
Hey, I wanna break away and talk to Frances for a minute if we could.
Can you get the back office her number?
Oh yeah,
Just so we can make sure we're all squared away before we do that. But yeah, Callie, you let us know. We'll be there. Randy Leach, any updates there or thoughts? Hold on. We are here. She's here. We
good.
can bring her in.
Great. And I'll just answer quickly on Randy Leach. I actually got
Let's answer it after. Let's answer it
Okay,
after. Let's
great.
get her in. She's been waiting long enough.
Hello, Frances. How are you?
Hello. Is it better this time?
Oh, it's
That's
fantastic, actually. You have had a tough day today, Frances, and frankly, since September 2019, you've had tough days. Everyone, I want you to meet Frances Gain, the mother of Brian McKenzie, who disappeared in September of 2019. And this amazing woman led searches and went out by herself every single week since Brian disappeared. And if you watched Profiling Evil's show a few weeks ago, we actually released where Brian's body was recovered when a man who flew a drone actually days after Brian disappeared flew a brand new drone he was testing out over his home. And wasn't until a few days ago that he was looking at some old video and found Brian's vehicle in this pond next to his home. And Frances, I mean, this is minutes from your house. And did you ever I tried to connect the two of you. Did you ever get to talk to him, the young man that found?
No, I've been to the bridge a few times, but I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him because I have I had to work my people ready, and I wasn't people ready.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get there, but I have not. I kind of when I heard the video, I was a little upset, from listening to it and knowing that something was seen years before from now. So I was trying to put two and two together, playing the detective, like why, the what ifs, and so that kind of got me to where I just pushed away, and I just really wanted to be at that bridge, and I wanted to talk to my son because, in all reality, if my son was in fact in that pond for 2 years, and I mean, whatever's in there, all the fish and everything else is part of my son. And that's what I really think about. If anyone went fishing, I don't know if the windows were all up. I don't know if any of them were down. I don't know anything.
From the photographs that were released when Brian's vehicle was pulled from the water, the windows did look like they were all up. Obviously, 2 years is a long time. And in this young man's defense that found the video, he didn't notice the vehicle then. It took this year, when the water levels were so low, for him to go back to that date and try to find that information, including the tire tracks going down into the water, which was really interesting. So I hope that you get that opportunity to talk to him. And if you lost that number, I'll connect you again with him. But I think that might
Actually,
be a
his
little
wife
bit healing.
been going back and forth with one of my searchers,
Oh,
send
good.
messages, and she seemed very nice.
Yeah, they're a very nice family.
And I think she said that she had seen me at the bridge, but she gave me my time because I was lighting a candle and I was praying. And I don't think anybody would have wanted to be around me at the time because my face was so red and I was full of tears, and it was just an emotional moment that I needed with my son, and I needed just with myself also, because it was a nonstop 2-year search for my son, knowing that he was right down the road that I passed and I drove every single day. I mean, even days before, I went up and down that road. My feeling, my heart knew that he took that road all the time, and I begged for that road to be searched.
Oh my
It just bothers
goodness.
me.
Well, I know that when we joined with Adventures with Purpose and they went out and hit several areas, that body of water never came across their radar. They would have quickly found that
Right, because on the
vehicle.
map, it doesn't show the water area,
Mm.
and it's there's a main road. You would never think that right off and you gear off, and then there's a subdivision that has a private lake. I know there's a private lake right here down the street from my house to the right, and I wanted to hit that one. I have a magnet in my car. When I see water and I see ponds, I see lakes, I throw my magnet in. I got to that point where it was like, it's going to happen anywhere I go. If I had the equipment, I'm going to do it. I was by myself, I would get out of work and put my boots on and grab my fork, put my jacket on, get my mace, and I would just run out to wherever I felt that my son was. But going up and down that street, to be honest with you, I felt like this, it had to be there. It had to be somewhat in the middle of point A and point B. And
Boy.
I mean, but I'm not the professional. I'm not the one. I can only just do what I do as a mother and just keep trying to search for my son and not give up.
You and I had the opportunity to visit the day that vehicle was pulled, and I don't know how many text messages we've had back and forth in the last 3 or 4 weeks as you've gone through this painful process of waiting for Brian's remains to be identified. But I think you knew right away that it was him, didn't you?
Well, to tell you the truth, when they found the Jeep, I think that I was kind of in denial and thinking that has to be someone else, because I didn't want it to be my son, even though I was telling myself and getting ready and saying, I know, I feel my son is gone. He's probably walking beside me and everything. I was in that denial. I was just like, it's that grieving kind of process where you're in disbelief. And that's why I wanted proof. Show me something. Prove to me that's my son. Give me something. Did you find something? Did anybody open the door? I mean, I even talked to the Tennessee dive team, and I felt so bad because I wanted him to tell me things, and he said he couldn't. And then I said, well, just don't talk to me anymore. I got to the point where I was angry at everybody and everyone around me. And it was like, I know they say grieve and closure, there is none. I mean, grieving is, there's two kind of grievings. Is one is in denial, and there's one where you grieve and you heal. It's like a sore on you. You get cut and you put a band-aid on it and it heals. It hurts. It hurts really bad, but it heals. And I just I was in denial. But
Yeah.
the only thing that proved to me that that was my son is the day that I was able to see him in a box. And every bone that I seen looked like every bone that I found out in the woods. But when I lift his face, which was his skull, and just looking at him, the structure, I knew that was my son. That's
Oh
when
my goodness.
acceptance kicked in, and I was like, this is you. I felt his vibe. I felt, I felt his energy. It was so strong. And, not to change the subject or anything like that, but what was so weird is that, remember at the beginning, I had let you guys know that I told the detectives that I had a dream that my son was going to give a stranger a ride and he was going to disappear. And I cried and I told my son, please be careful. I just feel this. And he's like, Mom, calm down. Everything's going to be all right. I'm safe. I'll be all right driving. And then what happens? He disappears. Well, on that day of August 29th, I woke up in the morning, and I always write my dreams down. I had a dream. I was woken up by a dream of my son being found. And I don't have dreams of my son being found, and I haven't seen the Jeep like that. And I wrote it down. I wrote my whole dream down. And then I took my schedule to work. And then I went to Tina's house because it's supposed to be Sunday, search day. I ended up going to her house. It wasn't but 10 minutes later. And it was the afternoon because we weren't called till like after 5 or something like that. She got a text. I got a text. They found the Jeep. All right. Now, who's saying this again? They've seen my Jeep probably go by because, you're in that rabbit hole. What my detectives always warn me about is that rabbit hole. But no, my phone rang and I looked at it and it was my detective. I answered the phone and he said, Francis, I need you to come down to the station. I was in shock. I was like, why? Why do you want me to go down to the station? You found my Jeep. You found my son. You found my Jeep. And he's like, we're not discussing this over the phone. You need to come down to the station. I said, where did you find it? On Hopper Barker? Because somebody already had told me because they got in touch with us. And I said I'd go down to the station, but I went straight down to Hopper Barker. Everybody was gone. I seen the tire tracks. WBBJ, one person was right there, and she told me, yes, they pulled a Jeep out of the water. So then I went down to the station, but I was just upset. I took it so personal that I wasn't the first one to be called when I lived right down the street. And I've been doing this for 2 years, looking for my son. And to not call me, where I see a lot of podcasts and I see a lot of stories like this, where the parent is actually standing next to the person that found their loved one and even is able to take a picture with them or thank them or something, but no, not Francis, not someone who's been risking herself and other people and even by herself and nonstop, not called. I took it personal.
Francis, one thing that I am convinced is you have learned these lessons in a very tragic way, and you will bless the lives of other people as they go through this. The things that you've learned, you have impacted me deeply. Today was a really special day. Do you want to share today?
Yes, I was finally able to bring my son home. Waited for so long, and it was just, he was so heavy. It was like my son was in my arms again, like he was born, and I'm bringing him home. And
I love the fact that you even put the seatbelt around the urn in the car.
yes, I did. I put the seatbelt on him. I even talked to him and told him, baby, we're going home. I stopped at the church first to thank the Lord, and talk to Mary and thank her for loving my son. And I don't know how she did it when she did it with hers. And I just thanked all the saints. Our children are not supposed to go before us. We're supposed to outlive our children. It's supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be more timely loss, like grow old and we go, but not like this.
Yeah.
I do believe in my heart my son's life was modified, but I'm not the detective.
Well, Francis, I promised you that we would be short, and I wanted to wait some time before we had you come on, just so that there was some time for you to start processing all of this. what I'd like to do is maybe in some point in the future, and I'm not even going to say a when you're ready, that we come back on and we talk about the lessons learned and what other families could do, and maybe what your plan will be going forward. Especially, I want you to talk about the fact that this thing isn't over yet.
No.
And I want people to study up on this case. I want them to learn. And if they don't know who Brian is, learn who Brian is. And then when we get back together, we'll talk about what's next for the Brian McKenzie case.
That sounds good.
Thank you so much. You are such an inspiration, and I really appreciate your strength. And you know what I really appreciate is that you stopped at the church on the way home, and that you're remembering and keeping things in the proper order. And you know what? Police are constantly evolving and learning, and they're going to need to hear from you at the right time with a solid critique of what could have been better in this kind of case, because there will sadly be other Francis Gaines in the world after
And
this.
there's many. And
Yep. Well, thank you, Francis. We'll get you back soon, and I hope you've been able to see all the people that are just putting such wonderful comments in and wishing you the best. And if not, go back and watch this after. As you well know, there is a world of people that you've never met that are praying for you and your family.
hey, you know what? Let me tell you, social media was probably the best tool ever. I mean, I'm a 70s baby, and there's a lot of this has been happening for years. And if we had all this, it would have made a world of a difference. And because of social media and prayer and everything, my son probably would still be in that pond.
Yeah,
If
agreed.
anything.
Well, thank you, Francis. Have a wonderful evening. And again, I really appreciate all you've done to share this, and most importantly, for the example that you are.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, Francis.
Well, what an incredible woman.
Wow.
Isn't that something? And folks, if you have not looked into the Brian McKenzie murder and the case, please go back to our playlist and you can look that up and watch some of those videos on this remarkable story.
Yeah, man, she's a warrior, that's for sure. That's someone I would want behind me if I were to go missing.
Yeah,
100%. Top of the list. Oh man, thank you, Francis. I know you can still hear us, but thank you. Well, everybody, we've got just a few more minutes for any last questions anybody had for the AMA, the Ask Mike Anything. But we were talking about one before we brought Francis on. I cut you off when you wanted to talk about it. Randy Leach. Yeah.
Randy Leach. Randy Leach got an email from someone this week on that I've kept in close contact with. Nothing from our side shaking loose on this. So again, we just continue to hope and pray that kid happens to show up.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody, if you hear a kid in the background, I'm home alone with my youngest while the others are at soccer practice.
Oh my goodness, I fear for my grandchildren.
So he's building Legos behind me, but he might start getting her on the other side of my monitor here.
And I want to just say to everybody, thanks so much for all the support that you have given us. And I really appreciate all the comments that you make. I hope you know we read them, and I hope you're seeing that we respond to many of those. These are tough cases, and it just continues to happen, which is really tragic.
Yeah, we've had quite a few questions, which I think it's appropriate we at least comment on about Adventures with Purpose and their splitting ways with Sam. We don't have really much to say, right? We work with them a lot, but we love both groups.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was on in conversation with Jared today. Haven't talked to Sam for a bit. whatever they are doing is what they're doing, and we just kind of continue to focus on things from our perspective. As you notice, we don't chat much about what others are doing. We're having a hard enough time keeping our stuff together.
Yeah. Keeping Mike answering questions in less than 25 minutes. Sherilyn Schaffner, $4.90. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. Any thoughts on Cleo Smith in Australia?
No, I don't know anything about the case. I was actually on the phone today with some Aussies. I'm going to be doing some big stuff down in Australia. If you haven't been watching our Mapping Evil series, profiling our Mapping Evil podcast series, please sign up for that. We are blowing the numbers out down in Southeast Asia, but we just confirmed a little special project that we'll be doing in 2022 that in Australia. So a big multi-series project.
So I have been compared to Josh Powell and in the past with my looks, and this is a new one that actually came up. This is not somebody from my other streams that I do, but in my other streams, I have been called this very recently in the last week as well, looking like a younger, thinner Kevin James. I am now referred to as Mall Cop in some of my other platforms. So this is better than a murderer, I guess.
Yeah.
I love Kevin James, and the thinner part is nice. Thank you for adding that. But it really kind of bothers me now that this is two platforms where this is coming up.
Somebody said they feel like they're looking at a younger me. No, you handled life much better than I did. But maybe next week during AMA, I can pull up a picture of me as a patrol officer when I was your age. Because it does look awfully close.
How about? I'm sorry.
Thanks, Mimi J. Too, though. That you're absolutely right. We're having a hard enough time keeping our team together. So,
does anyone know if an ex-district attorney was convicted of a crime, would their past convictions and pleas they resided over be overturned?
I don't know that that would happen to a DA. It has been problematic for cops that get arrested. There are cases that haven't been adjudicated that are in the system. Oftentimes do get dropped and dismissed. So kind of interesting, but I don't know about that with the DA because, again, the court has found the information by that time.
All right. There's a lot of... Okay, here's the deal. We're going to have a Halloween stream on November 1st. Is that a Monday? That's a Monday, right? I don't know. We're going to have a Halloween stream, and if Mike will dress up, I will dress up as Mall Cop. Deal?
Oh, I'm not dressing up. Okay. I don't know what I'd dress up in. Yeah.
Sport. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very great. Well, way to make your people watching you happy.
Yeah.
We'll get them to dress up. Don't worry. Okay. Mike, why don't you go ahead? We could probably get wrapping it up. I think the questions are starting to die down a little bit here.
You know what? I think here's what I would wrap up with. This week I interviewed a police chief about police when they get involved in criminal events, and I'm doing this preparatory to a case on a young man who was murdered by a police chief almost 50 years ago. And I went to the police department to try to talk to that agency and was kind of dissuaded from doing anything, which made me want to really make sure this story was told. I first called a long-term police chief from the Los Angeles area, and our Wednesday will be an interview with him about this problem. And then next week we'll do the podcast and Friday broadcast of this case that I'm talking about. So please watch for that. Watch for Court TV tomorrow night. Be doing some things with Vinnie Politan. There's my little buddy Ollie. Hi, buddy.
Says hi.
And and it's another busy week. So we'll keep cranking it out. And to all of you, thank you. If you haven't subscribed to Profiling Evil, would you please do so? We're only $2,000 short, I think, of 100,000. It would be so fun because the back office has some big ideas that are going to come with the 100,000 mark. So we're looking forward to that. And from all of us at Profiling Evil, we just can't thank you enough. I'm going to give you the final word, Skylar, and sign us off.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mike. Welcome back. Thank you, everybody in the Profiling Evil family. We are always happy to be here, always happy to do this. And again, like Mike said, we got something fun planned for 100,000 subscribers. So help us get there, and we're excited for it. But Mike, thanks again. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thanks. See y'all.